Chosen. Before you say a single word back to this screen, before your mind attempts to categorize what you are hearing, I want you to simply receive something gently. The heaviness you have been carrying in your physical vessel, the one that has been making your shoulders forward and your breath shallow for months, does not belong to you. It is the psychic weight of a season that has already ended in heaven, but has not been fully declared over yet on earth. And I believe today, this very day, as you hear my voice, is the day it is being declared over. It is no accident that this transmission is reaching you right now. As the calendar sits upon this specific juncture, Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, the timelines are converging. You did not arrive at this video by frustration or chance. Out of every message available to you in this exact moment, you stopped here because something inside you recognized the sound of home. You have been waking up, haven't you, in the hours of God, that sacred silent window between 3 and 5 in the morning, with your heart racing and no logical explanation for the dread. You have been hearing that high-pitched ringing in your ears, a digital noise that is not tinnitus, but the incoming codes of a new reality loading into your spirit. The algorithm that brought you here is not lines of code written by man. It is a vibrational sieve that was precisely designed to let only the resonant souls pass through the filter. This is your personal incoming call. Because here is the truth that nobody around you has had words for. The truth that they could not see even if they were looking straight at it. The events you have been calling delays were not delays. They were defenses. The doors you have been calling closed were locked behind you to prevent you from going backward into a house that was about to collapse. The friendships that have quietly faded into the background were not failures of your love, chosen one. They were the natural, necessary completion of an assignment that was always meant to end at this specific juncture. You have been grieving things that were finishing exactly on time, according to the tapestry woven before you were born. And what you have been feeling in your body as restlessness, as a heavy, dragging guilt for wanting to leave things that others think you should be happy with, that strange, persistent ache of being surrounded by familiar things that no longer feel like yours. That is not malfunction. That is not mental instability or ingratitude. It is a divine relocation announcement. Your spirit picked up the shift before your circumstances caught up. I am not going to spend this message trying to convince your mind that something is shifting. You already feel it vibrating in your bone marrow. I am going to spend it showing you exactly what is shifting, where you are being moved to, and what to release tonight so you are light enough to walk through the door when it swings open. We are here on this Tuesday to validate the invisible reality that has been tormenting you with hope. I am going to be completely straight with you about what I cannot promise, and very clear about what I can, because by the end of this, you will not be asking, "Is something happening?" You will be asking, "What do I do next?" And before we close, you will have that answer. Now, I want you to take one breath that goes a little deeper than the last few have gone. Just one. Let the air settle into the deep architecture of your stomach. Because what you are receiving today, this Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, is not a coincidence. It is an appointment. If these words feel pointed, that is because they were aimed specifically at your heart. You have been carrying a quiet, burning knowing in your chest that your current address, your current job, your current circle, your current version of daily life was never the destination. It was the hallway, the waiting room, the aircraft circling the airport because the runway was not yet clear. And the reason your spirit has been getting louder, not quieter, the reason the internal pressure has been building to the point of breaking, is because the runway is now clearing. The signals are turning green. But I must be honest. I will qualify everything in this message with that honesty because I refuse to be one more voice promising you a timeline based on human anxiety. Only the Father knows the hour. But I can say this with the supreme confidence of one who watches the spiritual winds. The pattern of how heaven moves chosen people from old places to new ones is consistent across Scripture, across history, and across the lives of people I have watched walk this exact transition. And that ancient, holy pattern is operating in your life right now. By the end of this transmission, you will know the 5 specific signs that confirm you are mid-relocation right now. The kind of signs you have probably been dismissing as small or purely psychological, but which are not small at all. You will understand with crystalline clarity why your last several years were not wasted in that desert, and what your hidden season was actually building inside of your DNA. You will receive a 4-question test, simple enough to remember, that lets you tell the difference between a true God call and an exhausted personal impulse just to escape. We are going to walk through the door of your new home together, and you will see with specificity what is waiting in 3 main areas of your life. And you will leave with one practical practice you can begin tonight. Stay with me all the way to the final second. Near the close, there is a moment I do not want you to miss, because something is going to be declared over you. And I have learned that those moments tend to be the ones the Father uses to seal what He has been saying to your spirit for a long time. So let us begin exactly where you are. Not where you wish you were. Not where you used to be when things were easier. Right where you are tonight, in this room, with this body, with this exact, exhausting mix of tiredness and hope. We must talk about the architecture of your wilderness, for you have been looking at your scars as evidence of your failure, when they are actually the stamps of your promotion. The divine distance you have felt, that cold, echoing space between your prayers and the manifestation of your answers, was not a desert of abandonment. It was a surgical theater. Every betrayal you endured, every hand that pulled away when you needed it most, and every financial emptiness that left you staring at the floor in the dark, was a precision cut made by the Father. The universe was not punishing you. It was operating on you. You were being separated from dependencies that would have anchored you to a sinking ship. If you had remained in the abundance of the old season, you would have stayed comfortable in a version of yourself that was meant to die. The financial drought was not a lack of provision. It was a forced redirection of your energy, a way to ensure that your roots could no longer find nourishment in shallow, poisoned soil. You were being moved out of the reach of things that were designed to graze upon your potential without ever contributing to your purpose. This isolation was a surgical intervention of the highest order, a necessary vacuum created to protect the fragile light that was beginning to pulse within your DNA. Do not resent the silence. It was the only place where the voice of your destiny could finally become louder than the noise of your circumstances. And I must tell you something about the ones who are no longer there. There are watchers from your past, individuals who are still tethered to the old cycle, who secretly monitor your life from the shadows. They are waiting for your collapse. They check your pages, they ask about you in hushed tones, and they anticipate the moment you will finally break under the weight of the transition. They want to see you fail, because your success would prove that their own stagnation is a choice. But listen closely. Their exit from your life was a divine shield. If they had stayed, they would have been the parasites that consumed your light before it was strong enough to defend itself. You were not left behind by them. They were evicted from your sphere because the frequency you are moving into would literally shatter their internal structures. You were being hardened in a vacuum, a spiritual pressurized chamber, so that your light would not be consumed by matrix parasites, those entities and systems that feed on the anxiety and the creative fire of the chosen. In that vacuum, without the validation of the crowd or the comfort of the familiar, you were forced to become your own source of heat. You were tempered like steel. The reason you feel so different now, so detached from the dramas that used to consume you, is that you have been processed in a way that makes you unrecognizable to the parasites of the old world. You have been rendered unpalatable to those who seek to drain you. The wilderness was not a mistake. It was a masterclass in sovereignty. Consider the nature of the seed before it breaks the surface. It is alone, surrounded by the crushing weight of the earth, in total darkness. It feels like an ending, but it is actually the only environment where the shell can be weakened enough for the life inside to emerge. You have been in that dark soil. You have been feeling the pressure of the earth against your spirit, wondering why you couldn't just grow in the light like everyone else. But you are not like everyone else. You are a chosen soul, and the caliber of your assignment required a specific type of pressure. You were being prepared to stand in a brightness that would blind a normal person, and that kind of ocular strength is only developed in the deepest shadows. The vacuum you have lived through has stripped away the false layers of your ego, the performing parts of your personality that were built to please the matrix. What remains now is the core essence, the indestructible diamond that can only be formed under the precise conditions of a long-term wilderness. The watchers will continue to look, but they will not see you. They will see a reflection of their own lack, while you walk through the fire without the smell of smoke upon your clothes. You are being moved from the theater of pain into the laboratory of power. The pain was real, but it was the price of entry into a dimension of reality where you are no longer the victim of your history, but the architect of your future. Your orphanhood is dissolving, and in its place, the authority of the air is rising. You are being relocated not because you were cast out, but because you were called up. What you are experiencing in this current window of time is not a psychological shift. It is a profound DNA reprogramming. There are parts of your internal architecture, dormant strands of spiritual and biological information that have been asleep for generations, that are now beginning to vibrate under the pressure of the new light. You have been feeling this as a literal heat in your chest, a strange buzzing in your hands, or a sudden, sharp clarity that makes the old world look like a faded photograph. This is the mechanics of the shift. You are undergoing an upgrade of your energetic operating system. The old codes of survival, of not enough, and of perpetual struggle are being overwritten by the codes of sovereignty and abundance. This is your quantum leap. In the old reality, you were taught that progress must be linear, that you must climb every single rung of the ladder and suffer for every inch of ground gained. But in this Kairos moment, time is collapsing. You are not climbing a ladder anymore. You are jumping dimensions. You are skipping over the years of labor that others said you had to endure because your vibrational signature now matches the frequency of the higher resource. It is happening not because of your effort, not because you worked harder than anyone else, but because you finally stopped resisting the transformation. You have reached the point where the internal and external realities must align. This is your entry into the fifth dimension of your existence, a state of being where you no longer operate from the friction of the matrix, but from the flow of the spirit. In this state, the rules of cause and effect are different. You are moving into a reality where the resource arrives before the need is even articulated because the spirit has already claimed it. Imagine a river entering a dry riverbed that has been scorched for a decade. The water does not ask for permission. It simply occupies the space that was prepared for it. The drought was not a punishment. It was the deepening of the channel so that when the flood came, it would have somewhere to go. Your life is that riverbed. Every season of lack, every moment of no, and every year of waiting has carved a deeper capacity within you to hold the weight of this new glory. The gates that have been locked against you for years are not merely being opened by a key. They are being torn from their hinges by the sheer velocity of your arrival. There is a momentum behind you now that is not of this world. It is the weight of heaven moving behind a chosen soul who has finally said yes to the unknown. I need you to understand the erasure of karmic debt that is occurring right now. You have been carrying the weight of ancestors you never met, the patterns of failure that have haunted your bloodline, and the heavy psychic debt of your own past mistakes. In this shift, the slate is not just being cleaned, the slate itself is being replaced. The universe is declaring a jubilee over your house. The chains of ancestral trauma are snapping under the frequency of this new light. You are being disconnected from the power grid of the old world, the one that fed on your guilt and your shame. When you walk into the new address, you will walk in as someone with no history of debt. You are no longer the sum of what you have lost. You are the precursor to what is about to be born. The transition feels violent to the ego because the ego wants to stay in the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. But the spirit is calm. The spirit knows that the gates are gone and the way is clear. You must realize that the resources you have been chasing are actually chasing you. In the third dimension, you are the hunter. In the fifth dimension, you are the magnet. The shift occurs when you stop hunting and start becoming. Your vibrational signature is now a match for the wealth, the peace, and the relationships that were previously out of reach. It is a mathematical certainty of the spirit. When the frequency of the carrier matches the frequency of the gift, the manifestation is instantaneous. This is why the doors you have been calling closed were actually closed behind you, to stop you from hunting in the wrong forest. The river is flowing, the debt is gone, the gates are down. You are no longer a resident of the struggle. You are an ambassador of the shift. Take a breath and feel the new codes settling into your marrow. The architecture of your reality has changed. Now that the shift has reached your internal architecture, there is a protocol you must follow to preserve the integrity of the new field. You are entering the sacred circle of protection, and the first law of this circle is the law of silence. I want you to listen to me with your spirit, not just your ears. Do not speak about this new force, this new resource, or this new direction to anyone still residing in your old cycle. There is a primal urge within the chosen to explain their transformation, to seek validation from those they are leaving behind, or to hope that if they find the right words, the people from their past will finally understand. You must resist this urge with everything you are. The frequency of your new vision is currently in a state of high sensitivity. It is a newborn reality that cannot survive the cold air of skepticism or the heavy, dense vibration of those who are committed to their own stagnation. When you speak of your movement to those who are not resonant, you are not sharing a joy. You are creating a leak in your power. Every time you try to justify your shift or defend your new boundaries to an old audience, you are bleeding the very energy required to finalize your relocation. Your silence is not a sign of coldness. It is a sign of stewardship. You are protecting the holy seed that has just begun to germinate in the hidden places of your life. You must be prepared for the reaction of the old environment. As your vibrational signature changes, the energy vampires and the matrix parasites that once fed on your accessibility will sense the shift. They will feel the sudden drop in their supply, and they will begin to probe your new field. This probing will not look like an attack. It will look like concern, like a sudden check-in, or like a nostalgic invitation to return to an old role. They will ask questions designed to trigger your old guilt, to see if the old buttons still work, and to verify if you are still the same chosen one who can be guilt-tripped into carrying their burdens. This is a strategic probe by the old reality to see if your new boundaries are real, or if you can be dragged back into the drama of the previous cycle. You must recognize these probes for what they are. Attempts to anchor you back to a version of yourself that no longer exists. They are not hungry for your friendship. They are hungry for the specific light that you used to let them consume for free. In this season, your no must be absolute, and your why must remain private. You do not owe an explanation to anyone who is committed to misunderstanding you. The new address you are moving toward requires a level of sovereignty that cannot be achieved if you are still looking over your shoulder to see if your old circle is nodding in approval. The verdict for your life has changed, and your results will be your only answer. We are moving past the age of apologies and into the age of manifestation. You no longer need words to defend your path, your decisions, or your worth. Let the silence become your shield. While others are busy debating your character or questioning your motives, you will be busy building the kingdom you were sent here to establish. The distance between who you were and who you are becoming is widening, and that gap is your safety. Do not try to build a bridge back to the burning house just because you miss the people inside. Some people are meant to stay in the fire because they refuse to acknowledge the smoke. Your assignment is not to save them. Your assignment is to occupy the new ground that has been cleared for you. When the results of your new season begin to materialize, when the peace is undeniable, when the provision is visible, and when the authority in your voice is unmistakable, those results will speak for you with a volume that no argument could ever reach. Until then, stay within the circle. Keep your plans in the dark so they can grow. Trust that the universe is managing the exits while you focus on the entrance. You are under a new jurisdiction now, one that rewards the quiet and protects the still. Your silence is your strength, and your results are your testimony. We have reached the final seal, the moment where the internal resonance becomes an external reality that can no longer be ignored by the physical world. You have walked through the architecture of the wilderness. You have felt the reprogramming of your very DNA, and you have entered the sacred circle of silence to protect the seed. Now, standing on the threshold of this new address, there is one final decree that must be branded into your spirit with the heat of absolute truth. Hear me clearly, for this is the weight of the message you have waited lifetimes to receive. Your orphanhood is over. For years, you have operated as a spiritual orphan, carrying the crushing, hidden belief that if you did not protect yourself, you would be destroyed. That if you did not provide for yourself with your own hands, you would surely starve. That if you did not fight every battle with your own fading strength, you would be forgotten in the dust of the old cycle. You have lived with the hypervigilance of one who has no backing, no fortress, and no home. That season of solitary survival is finished. You are no longer a nomad wandering a desert that does not know your name. You have been officially brought under the canopy of total divine protection. The same forces that rearranged the stars to bring you to this transmission, the same intelligence that guided your eyes to this screen at the exact second of your readiness, are the same forces that now stand as a wall of fire between you and the parasites of your past. You are not just being moved to a new place. You are being claimed by a new power. The universe has placed its seal upon your brow, and the matrix must now recognize your immunity. You are under a covering that does not require your effort to maintain, only your residence. You are under protection. To seal this relocation in the realm of matter, to anchor this shift from the ethereal into the physical, you must perform a simple act of declaration that brings your body into agreement with your spirit. There is a specific frequency in the written word that locks a timeline into place, acting as a signature on a divine contract. I want you to go into the comments below and type the words, "The relocation is finished. I am home." By doing this, you are not just typing text on a screen. You are hitting a stake into the ground of your new reality. You are signaling to your nervous system, to your bloodline, and to the watchers of the old world that the gate has closed behind you and the bridge has been burned. This is your anchor. This is the moment where you stop being the one who is looking for a way out and start being the one who has already arrived. As you write those words, feel the last of the karmic debt dissolving into the light of this new day. Feel the ancient tension in your jaw and the shallow tightness in your chest finally surrender to the truth that you are held by hands that do not shake. You have spent so long being the seeker, the wanderer, the one always looking at the horizon for a sign of relief or a hint of belonging. But as of this moment, the search has reached its conclusion. The transition is not something that is happening to you. It is something you have become. You are the evidence. You are the manifestation. You are the living proof that the wilderness does not have the final say. I leave you now in the deep, resonant silence of your own power. You are entering a season where your results will be so loud and so undeniable that your voice will rarely be needed for explanation or defense. You are entering a space where the resources meet you at the door, where the connections are organic and holy, and where the peace is so thick it feels like a physical garment draped over your shoulders. Remember the law of silence as you walk. Protect your field with the ferocity of a king or a queen. Honor the work that was done in the dark, for it has made you unbreakable in the light of this new sun. The Father has watched every tear, counted every night of silence, and prepared every inch of the new soil you are now stepping upon. You are loved beyond your capacity to understand, and you are protected beyond your ability to imagine. The wait is gone. The runway is clear. The doors are off their hinges. Go now. not to find your path, but to walk it as the sovereign being you were forged to be. The transition is sealed. The relocation is absolute. The decree is written in the stars and manifested in your flesh. From this breath forward, you no longer search for the path. You are the path.